Last week, the stock market took a big tumble, led down by Nvidia and the so-called Magnificent Seven stocks. What caused the drop? An announcement from a Chinese startup company that it had developed top-quality artificial intelligence on an ultra-low budget and without the super-secret top-of-the-line semiconductor chips that we have restricted the Chinese from accessing. DeepSeek's announcement rattled the tech world and crushed the big tech stocks. Nvidia, the maker of the most sophisticated semiconductor chips in the world, suffered the worst one-day market cap loss of any company in history, losing almost $600 billion in a matter of hours. All this from a $6 million investment by a Chinese startup? Reason.com called this AI's Sputnik moment. Now, Americans may not remember the Sputnik story, but essentially it was when the Soviet Union leapfrogged American scientists and launched the first Earth-orbiting satellite in 1957. This was a wake-up call. It began the space race, and it launched us to land on the moon in the next decade. Hearing the DeepSeek news also reminded me of another space story. I want to emphasize, this story is not true, but the point it makes is valid. The internet rumor went viral like this. When NASA discovered that ballpoint pens would not work in zero gravity, they commissioned a space pen at the cost of over $100 million. A typical American response. The Russians? They just used a pencil. By the way, I use a space pen from the Fisher Space Pen Company. It does write upside down. It writes in zero gravity, but it was developed by an entrepreneur at zero cost to taxpayers. These pens cost the space program maybe a couple of dollars a piece, but the point's valid. Do we sometimes overspend while other nations use something more practical, like a pencil? And that's the DeepSeek story. China matches our best AI for just $6 million and without the most sophisticated equipment. That shocked the market. Maybe companies don't have to buy the top of the line to get results. I thought of another analogy. Are Americans buying Lamborghinis to drive Uber? And then China comes along with an ordinary car that works just as well for ride sharing. There's a lot to take in from all of this, and we'll need to turn to an expert. There are implications for our national security and for our national priorities. There are implications for investors. There's implications for energy and our electric grid. I'll set the stage on these discussions, and then we'll bring on Professor Phil Parker from INSEAD, one of the world's top AI experts for analysis. Before we bring in Phil, let's tackle a few of the big issues. In terms of national security, this is a wake-up call. We've treated AI and business in general as just that, business. But as we say all the time here, what we see as a marketplace, our enemies view as a battle space. This might be a Sputnik moment that we have long seen our tech superiority leapfrogged, even though it has been our #1 strategic advantage. If the Chinese stole the high-end chips to make this happen, we have a problem. If they didn't steal chips and still got the results reported, do we have a bigger problem? Is the AI genie out of the bottle? Can our national security respond? These are legitimate questions that must be asked in the current unrestricted war that we're in with China. What seems to be true is that the DeepSeek has offered evidence to the world of very sophisticated AI outside America's sphere of influence. Keep in mind that we're only shown what the CCP wants us to know. So think of this as chat CCP. Or is DeepSeek a deep fake, intended to throw us off in some way at the start of the Trump administration? Could they be pretending they don't need the top chips, so we reallocate capital away from their development? Did you notice that DeepSeek was quickly hacked after their announcement? This tells me the major Western intelligence agencies might want the answer and they don't know how to get it. Regardless of the motivation, DeepSeek has made an impact on our stock market, economy, and our AI strategic planning. Was the announcement a Chinese fake-out designed to hurt us? The stock market briefly tumbled and later recovered, but this teaches us a few things. One, the S&P 500 is so heavily weighted with massive tech stocks like Nvidia that a crack in the AI narrative can cause the index to tumble even if most stocks do well.